Entering the Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings 2021 Arnold Palmer Invitational Bets, DraftKings Ownership, Weather, and of course, the live chat. If you are watching this after the fact, not live, like I am every single Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on Mayo Media Network, a network which you should subscribe to right now. If you are not subscribed, thank you for doing that for me. What you can do is just dump your question into the comment section below the video, and I'm going to start answering them around 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday evening. That is the brief window that I get where I pause the challenge live so I can fast forward through the commercials for like 20 minutes. So any question you have, dump it in there, and boom, we're good to go. You'll get your question answered on that end. All the stats I used today provided by fantasynational.com. Go to fantasynational.com/Mayo. Get yourself that discount. Get all the stats, all of the tools, the ownership projections, the simulator, the lineup builder. It's all up there for you. So please go to fantasynational.com/Mayo and become a member today. Smash a like, comment, rate and review the podcast. Oh, yeah, there's other shows throughout the course of the week. 2 huge football shows with Feinberg and Cust Thursday and Friday up on the network, and a ton of Players' Championship coverage starting on the weekend all the way throughout the week. We may even go live after the round for some showdown and some recaps up on the Pat Mayo Experience and a Cut Sweat Live, maybe. There's also an early look at the Players' Championship betting odds that I did with Raza yesterday that is up on Daily Fantasy Sports Picks and Bets the Mix. You can find that in the description of this video and podcast to go subscribe to that podcast feed. Also, the one and done breakdown for API is up on that feed right now too. All right, let's get to the bets. I have one open spot on my card right now, and I'm trying to decide between Tyrrell Hatton at 17-1, Patrick Reed at 21-1, and maybe Jordan Spieth, who I just I'm going to cross Spieth off. I used him on DraftKings. We'll get into that in a minute. I mean, if you watch yesterday's show, I talked myself into him. Probably not going to put the outright bet on him. So Reed or Hatton, I kind of want to take a gamble on at the top. I haven't decided between them. I don't have room on my card for both of them, as I do after looking at when we get to the weather, that I want to have a live bullet or two on the weekend to fire at someone who's a potential chaser in this spot, because I do think that there's the ability to come back and win on a Sunday at Bay Hill. We've seen it so many times, and it might not always be the most obvious name, so that's always good to know. So I don't want to just, shoot my wad right now and have no money left for the weekend, but as it stands right now, Matthew Fitzpatrick, 25-1. Is my first bet. Sam Burns, 45-1, because I'm not missing out on this one. Can't wait for both those guys. They're both going to be very, very popular this week, especially in the betting market and on DraftKings too. That they're going to be like plus 15 after the turn on Thursday. It's going to be like, oh, great. Fun week already. We can log out and just go chill for the weekend. Justin Rose, 66-1 with the top 8 each way. Cam Davis, 75-1 with a top 8 each way. And the 3 bombs that I am taking, Norlander, 125-1. Matt Wallace, 125-1, and Seb, my guy, Straka. You got a Swede, we got a Brit, we got an Austrian. He's 200-1, all played with the top 8 each way for me at 150 odds for that top 8. Top 20s, Killa Keith Mitchell, plus 450. Aaron Wise, Raza's guy, talked me into him, plus 550. Cameron Percy, who I do like a lot this week, plus 650. And Seb Straka, plus 750 to finish inside the top 20 first-round leader bets for the week, all with a top 5 each way at 1/4 the odds of their outright price. Aaron Wise, 90. Mitchell and Patrick Rogers, 100. The Gim Reaper and Hollywood, Tom Hoagie, 110-1. Seb Straka and Cam Percy, 125-1. And just because, he's won here twice, he was the first-round leader last year, Matt Every, 150-1. Why not? Let's burn some cash on him. In our small one and done, I went with Fitzpatrick, Jeff went with Hatton, and Cust went with Rory McIlroy, who is the betting favorite in this tournament. Again, if you want the full breakdown of the One and Done show, just check out Mayo Media Network. It went up on Tuesday evening. Or Daily Fantasy Sports Picks and Bets The Mix. Leave a rating and review, by the way. Help out that show. Let's boost the numbers for that show. Tell a friend, all right, about all of the podcasts on Mayo Media Network. We may even have a new daily baseball show coming out pretty soon. if you give a shit about baseball. I don't, so, I'll subscribe and download to it, but I don't need to listen to it. We might have some good names lined up to do that, too, to try to help you print some cash for the daily grind of baseball, and we're going to try to make it like the mix, where it's not so long that it takes up your entire day, kind of like my show, where you just put it on like 8 hours later, it's still going. No, this is going to be to the point. Here are the plays, here's the news, here's the picks, and you can be on your way, all over a morning coffee. So once that feed hits, I'm going to ask you guys to support that, just like I do for everything else, and I would greatly appreciate it. The weather for the Arnold Palmer Invitational. A lot of people are getting wrapped up in what happened last year, and the weekend was an absolute travesty in terms of the weather. It made the course so hard. That is an irregular occurrence at Bay Hill. This is not a coastal course, and that's not to say that there's not going to be a lot of wind, but generally there's pretty benign conditions at this event, and like we saw, -4 the winning score with Hatton last year, and you can see guys push up to -19, -18. That can happen too. So when we look at it, Thursday looks completely fine, no distinct wave advantage on Thursday. It's a bit colder in the morning, I suppose. 55 projected to be the temperature at 7 a.m., where it's going to be 72 starting at 1 p.m. So maybe, it's probably better to play in the 72 rather than the 55, just to get loose. I can tell you, I went for a run this morning. Not great being in, Celsius-wise, -3 degree weather, running in the cold, hard. Playing golf in the cold, also hard, because I've done that too. Friday, there's going to be wind kind of picking up all day and then decreasing, but nothing better than 12 miles per hour, so I'm not really going to sweat that. Now, the weekend, it does look like there's going to be a bit of action as of right now. Now, there's no way to plan for this, because you need to get your guys through the cut line to begin with, and just pick the guys that you like, and you hope that they can hold up on the weekend. But Saturday, there's projected to be rain, gusts up to 28 in the afternoon that will affect the leaders. So when I talk about saving some of those bullets in the betting market, maybe it's not necessarily on a Sunday morning that you fire back on someone. Maybe it's someone on, let's say, a Saturday morning that might get decent conditions before the rain and wind start. Now, there is the distinct possibility with rain in the forecast that the wind doesn't end up affecting these guys, because they're not playing on Saturday and they just get pushed to Sunday. And once again on Sunday, it looks like to be a very, very gusty day at Bay Hill. The average mile per hour in terms of wind is going to be like 12, 14, 15. Not too detrimental, but it will blow a few holes into the water. But we're getting gusts up to 25, 20, 18, 20, and that's almost all day long. So we could see some chaos on the weekend. I mean, my bets don't necessarily like that unless, I win, then, I love it. But as a viewer of golf, you have to enjoy some of these conditions sometimes, because we're going to see so many events where the elements don't play a factor whatsoever, and golf is just more entertaining to watch when the balls are blowing absolutely everywhere, and you need to see guys go out there and grind. That's one of the things that I like about Fitzpatrick in this sense, and one of the reasons why I really kind of want to take one of Hatton or Reed. Full disclosure, DraftKings wise, I just played all three of them. I have all three of them in like lineups together, and hopefully that ends up working out. But all three of those guys, I don't think it really matters for them whether the conditions are good or bad. They're fine in regular conditions, and they're not bad in windy conditions too. And wind can be really subjective of how you try to analyze it, because wind at one course isn't the same as it is at another course. So if one guy goes out, let's say the Amex gets super dicey and winds go up to like 35 miles per hour, well, that's not the same as playing Bay Hill. Bay Hill is way longer. Is that going to affect a certain style of player? But you do want the guys that can kind of grind, get themselves up and down, make those 9-foot putts on a semi-consistent basis. Obviously, putting by and large is just going to be highly variant, but there are some guys who have been doing a much better job at that. Just even looking at Patrick Reed right now, his putting splits at the moment, there are no splits. He's just been tremendous on the green week after week after week. It's starting to remind me of the stretch that Spieth went through and the stretch that Jason Day went through when they were just nuclear with their putters, and every single week it gave them a chance to win. And if they decided to drive the ball decently and hit their irons above average for that week, then all of a sudden, they're going to be inside the top 3. So that's why my lean towards Patrick Reed continues to come in, where I don't think that these long courses really give him much fear. He's not the greatest driver of the ball, but he's also not short off the tee either. He's not Matthew Fitzpatrick off the tee. He's longer than him. He doesn't hit his long irons as well as Matthew Fitzpatrick does. But even if you crank up the elements and he's going from right to left and having to get it up and down, I have the utmost confidence that Patrick Reed is going to do that. We've just seen it so many times. And if he needs to start making some 30-foot putts, there's a few of those that are going to drop for him this week, because that's just how it goes with him. He's in that zone right now, and maybe it all goes tits up and he loses 8 strokes on the greens, but That would be a huge outlier from what we're seeing right now. So I'm starting to lean on Patrick Reed. I want to hear from you guys in the comments between Hatton and Reed, which one you think that I should bet this week. And again, it's odds dependent. I'm getting better odds on Patrick Reed than I am on Tyrrell Hatton. So 17-1 versus 21-1. I mean, those 4 points at the top are different. I mean, it's one thing if one guy's 66 and one guy's 70, because the allocation of funds that you need to bet on those guys to make it all equal for yourself is a lot less than someone at the very top of the board. So I would like to hear from all of you on that in the chat. Those are some that, I mean, people get banned from the chat all the time because they don't ask questions. This is one I am allowing. If you want to make a decent case and try to sell me on that, you're allowed to not ask a question in the live chat. You can actually dump that in there this time around. Ownership projections on DraftKings this week. Highly consolidated at the top of the board. Much has been made this week about how this is an invitational. There's only 123 players. 10 of those guys are fucking god-awful, so they're probably not going to make the cut. So that makes the field even smaller. So a high percentage of the players are going to make the weekend versus a regular event. Because it's an invitational, over 54%, or actually over 53% are going to make it, but you take out those 10 guys, it's like 56%. So stars and scrubs are the way that people are playing this, at least per the ownership projections. It's going to be some combination of Hatton, Fitzpatrick, Hovland, Rory, and Burns as your top 5 guys. And they're probably all going to push right around 20% ownership. The other guys that I can see popping up, Sungjae will be popular. Molinari will be popular. Casey, Zalatoris also likely to be pretty popular. From down the list in terms of mid-range guys and cheaper guys, there's that entire range in the upper sevens that's going to be hilariously overowned. So, and I like some of these guys too, but like Kokrak, Leishman, Cam Davis, Taylor Gooch, Tringali, Lonto, and Charlie Hoffman are a lot of third and fourth players into a lot of people's lineup. Or if they're just going one up, one down, maybe you can fit 3 of those guys into a lineup as well. So that range is going to be hilariously overowned. Then you have Norlander and List, both probably pushing double digits, along with Chris Kirk and Matthew Neesmith in the upper $6,000 region. But he's the only $6,000 guy I currently have projected over 10% ownership at the moment. And I've been doing the last man in a few times, so I think it depends on how you want to construct your lineups. I actually generated 2 separate sets of lineups this week. I played I played 22 lineups this week, and I think I did 14 where I had my entire player pool, and that went all the way down to Seb Straka and Cam Percy at $6,500 and $6,400. That made stars and scrubs really work for me this week, but in a more balanced lineup. When I say balance, I don't mean like a bunch of guys in the 8s and then 7s. You have like 2 guys in the 9s, 2 guys in the upper 7s, 2 guys in the lower 7s. The lowest I went was Wyndham Clarke and Henrik Norlander at $7,000 and $7,200. So they were my last men in for a more balanced build. I feel good about those guys. Like someone like Matt Wallace, who I did use, is $6,900. I don't want to be playing him in like 3 max and single entries. He could shoot 84 in the first round, or he could be in contention. That's why he's an outright bet for me, and I'm not super heavily leaning on him in the DraftKings side of things. Maybe I should, and just, if those lineups get burnt, they get burnt. But if I'm going to be entering, like I'm going to go back and play the $200 again this week after taking the week off from it last week and playing the $100, but like I'm not going below. My last man in, I think, is either Clarke or Norlander for that one. I can't remember now because you'd be surprised how little thought that I put into some of these things when that's probably the thing that I should be putting the thought into. But after you do all the shows all week, you're just like, I'll just throw in that lineup. It sounds good. Let's get to the live chat. People got questions. I hopefully have answers for all of y'all. Garrett says, thoughts on Kevin? Nah. Nah, 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 nah. Nah, 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 nah. Nah, 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 nah. Kevin, no. Keeps landing my lineups every time I construct one. Such a grinder, I guess so. And playing well currently scares me because he's missed the cut here, though. I mean, guys miss the cut everywhere at places. I don't know what the fuck that means. He also has a top 5 finish at this course. Why did you choose to focus on the missed cut and not that? That is very curious to me. I guess the one thing I would say is that the irons have been pretty middling since he won at Sony. Like, he was 38th at Genesis. He gained on approach, gained around the greens last week. It was a lot like Louis. A lot of chipping, a lot of putting. He was in the negatives on approach, barely gained off the tee, and gaining off the tee is not something that he normally does. I don't hate Kevin Na. He did not make the player pool for me, so I am out on Kevin Na this week. Nah to Kevin Na. John, Poulter a better DK play or outright bet? I'd say neither, but probably a DK play. Is there any golfer that you are playing that wasn't on your radar from your first look video? I guess Cam Percy. at 6,500. Straka at 6,400. Two guys that I ended up getting on as the week went along. What's that? Oh yeah, I can't remember if I used Aaron Wise on DraftKings or not. I put him in the betting market. I don't want to be like Raza and just go down with the ship when it comes down to it from that regard. So I can't. I'll have to go look this up. Now I can't remember if I played him or not. No, I don't want that. I want this. Trying to log on to DraftKings.com. There we go. Now it's popping up for me. Let's see. Lineups. Tell you how much Aaron Wise I used. I don't think it was any in the DraftKings market. But if I do play Showdown, I'll probably end up using him. He would be a nice live to get on bet guy if things start breaking his way a little bit. But let's see here. Wise. Nope, did not use Wise. So I ended up betting him in the top 20 market, first round leader market. But I did not use him on DraftKings. Could this be Ricky's week? Hope not. Didn't use him. If you had to play someone in the 6K range, who is your favorite and why? Munoz is probably my favorite at $6,700. I just think he's the best player in that range. I know people like Neesmith. I think he's fine. He's just an ownership fade for me this week. But Percy and Straka, for their price points, if they open up the very top for you, if they are the difference between Jason Day and Matthew Fitzpatrick or Tyrrell Hatton, then I would say go that route rather than do anything else. Spieth is someone that I ended up getting on later on in the week for DraftKings purposes. Going through it. Does Matt Every make his first cut of the year? Was he the only guy playing in years he won back-to-back? Oh, man, you haven't been around long enough for the Matt Every days. I hope he's first-round leader. That's about all the investment I have in Matt Every. Other than that, I don't care. Pick one, Sam Burns or Molinari. Let's go with Burnsy. Pat, love the live chat. All the work you do. Thank you, Jeffrey. Last man in, smash the like I said, Norlander or Wyndham Clarke for last man in. If you're watching right now, please smash that like button. Okay. Also, become a member at fantasynational.com today. fantasynational.com/Mayo. Do it. Any thoughts on Redmond this week? Yeah, I did that last time. It fucking sucked. Pass. Thoughts on your guy, Luke List. His record at Bay Hill is sneaky good, plus playing well. Couldn't get there with Luke List just because I don't want him to hurt me. He does have a good track record here. Played well at Torrey, which I identified as a corollary course. I have no qualms with playing Luke List this week. It's funny because I actually like him at Honda and like him at the Players a little bit better. I just tend to like him at shorter courses, but maybe his time is coming. He's like John Cena. His time is now. And maybe it is this week at Bay Hill for Luke List. I always have, just like Kim, who has a horrible track record here, and Luke List, they're always in my heart, and I will probably be betting both of them next week at the Players. Thoughts on Wyndham Clarke this week? I like Wyndham Clarke this week. One and done. Narrowed down to Hatton, Fitzpatrick, and Molinari. Choice. Smash the like button. I would go with Fitzpatrick of that group. Any love for Hollywood Hoagie as a first-round leader? Sure. I do have some interest in him as first-round leader because I bet him as first-round leader. Who would you choose between Cam Davis and Ricky Fowler? Cam Davis, not close. Any Masters future yet? Any love for Neiman at 45-1? No Masters futures as of yet for me. Playing it by ear. The only one I've really considered, because I don't know what his odds are, and we'll go look those up right now and see what the markets are telling me, but I actually did have interest in Justin Rose to win the Masters. Feel like his time is running out for viability to actually win. And the second place in Saudi, maybe that's false hope. I want to see him have a good ball striking week this week at API like he normally does. And that would lead me to believe at least he's on the path to be able to get back to that point. And it feels like his odds are pretty depreciated at the moment. Justin Rose, now he's 55-1 here. I'd want like a 70-1 on Justin Rose like I'm getting this week at API. Well, I got a 66, but if I can get like a 65, 70, 75, then I'll have some more interest in Justin Rose. But maybe he just goes out and wins this week and everything's fine because I have money on him and that'd be great news. But he's just one that I'm keeping my eye on as we progress. If he starts to play well, I think that he's just not going to be popular unless he starts winning events. But if you can see some underlying metrics that would identify that he's back to being Justin Rose, then I will probably end up being on him at the Masters. Thoughts on Seabez this week? Take a pass on that. Last man in, Chris Kirk or Matt Wallace? I kind of went through that. I gave you my last man in. Out of those two, I'd probably go with the safer route and go Chris Kirk. Thoughts on sub 10% Homa, sandwich between Hyleo, Molinari, Zalatoris, and Burns? I do not hate that. I am not using him, but I see no reason not to use him. I didn't really do much with the 8s. I used a little bit of Harris English at I can tell you the exact percentage of my lineups. I use Harris English. I have him 14% of lineups just because no one is using him this week. Homa probably has more upside. Homa is playing excellently at the moment. So, yeah, I have no qualms with playing Max Homa here. I think he's probably even a good play. Like, between him and Zalatoris, I like Willie Z. I think I would project Will Zalatoris to be a better play this week, in terms of raw fantasy points. But, I'm wrong all the time. And if there's going to be a huge ownership gap between them, I don't think he's twice as likely to beat Max Homa. He's probably 53% to 47% to have more fantasy points. So in that situation, when one guy's ownership is 18% and the other guy's 9%, you go with the 9% guy. Just make your decision that way. So yeah, I couldn't get behind that. Number one favorite is Victor Hovland. I know I'm not alone, but I have to take him. Oh, that is fucking incredible insight. Thank you, Frank. Thoughts on Brendan Todd, first round leader? Nah, pass. Is Fitz worth the chalk this week? Seems like it's almost too good to be true. Hope so, because I'm eating it. Bryson is actually the play. Matt Jones released an article. He made it actually free for everyone. So if you go follow Matt Jones of the Bogey Free podcast on Twitter and at RotoViz, he released the chalk percentage of high-end guys and their floor percentage. And basically, anytime that you can get a guy above $10,000 that no one wants to use, you should probably just use that guy. And Bryson just does not project like anyone wants anything to do with him this week. Not to the point where he's 0% owned, but I currently have Bryson DeChambeau coming in at 12, 13, 14%. And that's significantly lower than the rest of the $10,000 range. Reed would be the next lowest, who I am using a lot of, but Bryson's played well here before. It looked like he's starting to get it back. Now he's going to be wildly inconsistent, but you can almost say the same thing about Rory. One day he's even, the next day he's -8. Rory tends not to have the 78s on his card like Bryson can somehow do, but Bryson seems like he'd be a pretty decent leverage play in this spot. For me, though, I am going to use Matthew Fitzpatrick. The way that I'm going to get around the Matthew Fitzpatrick chalk, hopefully, is I'm not using Hovland, I'm not using Bryson, I'm not using Rory. Just by not using those three, because they're being paired with Fitz a lot, with Fitz as a second man in, that either by starting my teams with Fitz or trying to pair him with Reed or someone below that, then hopefully that the ownership won't make that much of a problem to me. But I like Fitz, I bet him to win, I want to use him, so I don't really care what his ownership is. A blank site has odds boost any American to win. Well, I don't know what that site is, and I don't think that people should play there. People should play on DraftKings Sportsbook. Any mention of anything else gets you banned for life. Yes, Paul.
I mean, just look at the top of the board here. Not that we would ever say the F word, but look at how many Americans are actually at the top of the board. I don't know if that's even that great of a bet.
Bryson and Reed.
And
Spieth.
Rory, Hovland, Hatton, Fitzpatrick, Sungjae, Hideki, and Jason Day, you lose. I don't know if I like that bet. Do you?
I don't, and I don't like those bets ever anyway. Yeah. But I think that, he is saying that the reason that it's boosted up to that point is because the narrative this week is that Europeans have won the last 5 years. The reasons that Europeans have won this event the past 5 years, because most of the best players in this field are fucking are not American. They're all Europeans. The depth of European talent and international talent in this field versus the Americans is just wildly outweighed. I'd probably say it's at least at a 2-to-1 ratio. So I don't think that 175 is all that great of odds. Rory and Matsuyama or Hatton and Reed in single entry? Hatton and Reed. Burns or Willie Z on DK? Let's go with my guy, Sam Burns. Oh, this Frank guy just keeps telling me who he likes. Should he be banned for life? Because that's not a question, because I don't give a shit what you think, unless you're selling me on Hatton or selling me on Reed. And those two guys alone, and why I should bet one of them, then I don't care what you think.
Hey, pipe down, Frank. Pipe down, Frank.
Yeah.
It's your last
Frank,
warning. If I see later comments, Frank, you're banned.
This guy wished me a happy birthday. I'm banning him for life. He does it every week. It's not my birthday.
It's not your birthday.
Fuck off. Pick your two favorite. Reed, Casey, Homa, or Spieth. Reed and Spieth this week. Munoz and Connors or Werenski and Davis. Munoz and Connors. Although I do like Davis the best of all those guys. Hovland and Neesmith or Im and Tringali. The only one of those four players I used was Tringali. But I think I like the combination of Hovland versus Neesmith. I like Hovland so much more than Im, and the difference between Tringali and Neesmith isn't all that pronounced. So Hovland and Neesmith for me. Hovland has not finished better than 43rd. It is Is this a week to fade his high ownership? He finished like second last week, didn't he? The fuck are you talking about? Are you talking about like
Maybe
this?
means has not finished worse than 43rd, because like you go through his recent tournaments and they're all like top 10s.
I'm gonna say, when was the last time that he actually finished as low as 43rd?
Dude, he's been in the top 10 for like the last like 4 or 5 weeks for sure.
Yeah, I don't think that's a reason to second, fifth, second, 31st, first, 15th, 47th at the Zozo. So I don't think that would be a reason.
Not sure.
Maybe he's talking about at this tournament in particular.
Oh.
Okay, yeah.
He's young. He hasn't played here.
Yeah, the kid's fucking 22 years old. He's finished 42nd and 40th in his career.
Oh, I see.
And it's been, bad putting that has been the cause of him not playing well. He struck the shit out of the ball striking, very good both years. 4.1 strokes gained off the tee last year and 3 strokes gained on approach. That's over 7 strokes ball striking. Like, sign me up for that. I'm fading him because I just hope that I'm taking the chance that he doesn't win, and I know he's going to be super chalky and that someone like Reed beats him, and then all of a sudden that I am winning and you are not winning. I don't think the fact that he hasn't won here. I mean, why don't you just play Keith Mitchell? So you're saying that Keith Mitchell is a better play than Victor Hovland, is what I'm gleaning from this question. Stupid question. I don't like it. Don't like it at all. Is 100% Cam Davis too much? Nah, you play 100% Cam Davis. How could that possibly go wrong? Any love for Kyle Stanley? Nah, pass. Went over that on Tuesday's show with Ben. Fowler is a special player. All right, this guy's fucking gone.
Well, in fairness to him, he hasn't. He had been putting stuff in. I'd never seen that name before. What's Frank? Well, first-time listeners live. I'm looking at the most recent stuff.
All right.
So
yeah, you ask questions.
Okay, and then
keep your comments
later
to your fucking
on.
self.
Later on, now I think he gets it. It's only questions.
All right, so Frank, he's back in the good books.
Yeah,
and Fowler
don't ban him yet.
If Fowler is a special player, like he's especially not good, is that what you're trying to say? What order would you take Burns, Hideki, Day, and Spieth? Burns, Spieth, Day, Hideki. Which pair would you take? Burns and Day or Hideki and Spieth? Burns and Day. Other than strokes gained approach, what other stat is the key indicator for success at Bay Hill? Well, strokes gained approach is the key indicator at any course, so that's probably just one you should look at. You can read my column where I list my most stats that I'm targeting the most, or watch my Sunday show where I do a full research complete with custom model and even how I weight those stats. But approach, par threes from 200 to 225 yards this week, where there are 4 of them, and proximity from beyond 200 yards. All approach base stats for me. What do you look for when betting someone live? Do you want a long shot who is closer to the lead, or one of the favorites who might be farther back? I'm just basically going on Fantasy National, looking at ball striking, especially approach, and see guys that have been just not putting whatsoever yet are still in contention. Especially if they're like, you're always going to get better value on guys that are lesser than. Like if Rory is 4 shots back, and I don't know, Cam Percy is 4 shots back, Cam Percy is going to be like 4 times the odds of what Rory is, potentially even more. And yes, Rory is more likely to win in that event than someone like Cam Percy. But if the stats point to Cam Percy, the odds are never really a direct correlation. Like the true odds for Percy to come back and win are probably more reflected in his actual odds than someone like Rory, who's just always going to be overvalued no matter how far back that he is. So even when he's 10 shots back, it's like, oh, Rory's like 25 to 1. Like he should probably be 250 to 1 at that point. But he's Rory, and you expect him to play well, so people will still bet on him. So a lot of the betting market is dictated by how much money you're actually willing to put on these guys and what's the threshold of that. But I'm just looking at ball striking minus putting and see who has the highest number when it comes out of that. Do you think that long irons are something that is better predicted with long-term stats or short-term stats? What are the best stats on Fantasy National to use model long irons? I'm just looking at proximity from 175 to 200, 200 plus. I'm looking at that in the short term. So if you just use the rolling report up there, you can get a complete grid across, and you just like to see, like, if someone's stats were bad 100 rounds ago, but they've progressively gotten better over 75 rounds, 50 rounds, 36 rounds, 24 rounds, 12 rounds, 8 rounds, then it looks like those players are actually making improvements. If you have someone who's like a complete atrocity from 124 rounds to 100 rounds, but over the past 12, like all of a sudden they're great, that's probably noise, and that's probably an outlier. I mean, it could all be noise for all we know. Stats aren't predictive. They can just lead you down a path where you can make informed decisions about what certain guys are good at and what certain guys guys are not good at. But I'd want to see either consistency. Like, let's say someone was really bad in that middle stretch. So if you look at like past 50 or past 75, they're like 64th in the field. But over the past 100 rounds, they're like 19th. And then in the past 24 rounds and 12 rounds, they're like 17th. Like, oh, okay. Maybe they just like, even look at someone like Morikawa. Like after the PGA Championship a year ago, Morikawa didn't really play all that well for like a 6-month stretch. Even at the Masters, like he wasn't very good. Then he comes out this year and it's like, oh, Morikawa's hitting his irons exactly how he did when he was at his peak last year. And at TOC, he did that. At Sony, he did that. At Genesis, he did that. He just couldn't putt. And then all of a sudden, the week that he has the good putting, you know that the irons are coming along. But if you had looked at his like past 50 rounds, then he wouldn't be number 1 or number 2 in irons like he usually is. He would have been like 17th or 18th. And that wouldn't be a true reflection of how good he actually is. So I hope I've explained that okay. Gim, Stanley, or Neesmith? Gim, Reaper. Come on now. Give your head a shake, Justin. Hey, Pat, random question. I was thinking about last week during Billy Ho and Morikawa group. Do people ever look at the rate of twosomes, slow, fast players, impacting each other? I don't think so, to tell you the truth. I think it's really hard because guys will play fast and slow depending on how they're playing at the same time, too. Like someone like Brandt Snedeker is historically a very fast player. But Brandt Snedeker these days isn't a fast player because he's taking so many goddamn shots. He's looking in the woods for his ball half the time. So I just think there's probably something to it. I just don't know if there is a decent and accurate way to break that down where it actually tells you something. That just seems like something that's very noisy and very narrative based. Swafford or Keegan? Just go with Keegan. Thoughts on Rose, Fowler, Spieth in a single entry? I mean, play in the $200 single entry that has 422 people in it, please, with that lineup. Can you get Jeff help for his Ricky addiction? It appears to be slowly destroying his brain. I mean, it's his money. He can do what he wants with it. He wins enough. He wins enough that he can throw away money on Ricky Fowler. In fantasy, where you pick 4 guys, odds don't matter. Rank Hatton, Matthew Fitzpatrick, Patrick Reed, Rory McIlroy, and Sam Burns. Imagine playing in a league like that. That sounds horrible. Get better leagues and play on DraftKings and start betting. Get rid of this. Just stop playing in that way. That sounds horrible. Just why wouldn't you just take the top 4 guys in the betting odds every single week? Honestly. But for the purpose of this, Rory. Why isn't Hovland one of these guys? I mean, and why is Sam Burns on the list? I love Sam Burns and everything this week, but like, why is he on the list with these guys? They just pick the first 4 guys you mentioned. Hatton, Fitzpatrick, Reed, and Rory. Like, Sam Burns isn't in that. Stupid league. Reed, top 5s at Euro BMW Championship. Yeah, thanks. Thank you for watching the show and repeating my own information back at me. Glorious stuff. Reed, everyone is hyping up Hatton, and he will fail miserably. Okay. I bet Reed, Hatton, and Fitzy. Too many low on the board. It's not that it's too many low on the board. I think if those are your only 3 bets, you're probably fine, but those aren't my only 3 bets, so I don't want to tie up that much money. Don't ban me for no questions as I am a rookie. Ruvy's dad, shout out on your, congratulations on your 200K win, my man. And thanks, Mike, for telling you to tune into the Pat Mayo experience, getting you into the golf podcast world. Now, you can't be banned from this show. Ruvy Sr., you got too much money these days. Thank you for tuning in. I'm second in my one and done with only API left in the first segment. Should I burn another stud, Rory or Bryson? Take a guy who you think is going to win. And if that person wins, you'll win. Okay? Done. John, I played John. Thanks for the Morikawa call. I went with Hatton because this type of field he has dominated over the past 12 months. That is true. Any love for EVR? No. Matt Wallace. Why is this guy just saying names? In the last 4 or 5 contests, Reed's variance is much larger. Hatton finished 23rd or better in his last 5 contests. I would venture that Hatton ends up taking a top 10, so take Hatton. I am not concerned about top 10s. I'm concerned about someone who wins. I know that I think Hatton's winning at like an 18% rate right now. Just I'm something about me really thinks that Patrick Reed is going to win this week. But I feel that way about Hatton too. Just something about Reed in this moment, especially because he's on the outside looking in at the Ryder Cup bubble, that he's going to have to play his way onto that team. That's going to take some wins in order to do it. Better play Chris Kirk top 10 or Neesmith top 10? Probably Kirk. You're the man. Thanks, Pops Barrington. I've tailed you on all 3 of Morikawa's wins. If you could only bet one person this week at the current odds, who is your favorite play? Fitzpatrick. Can Hovland keep it up, or is this the week to fade him? I would think that you would keep it up. How are you balancing your construction between stars and scrubs and balance? I basically played 14 stars and scrubs-ish lineups. That means using either 1 or 2 guys in the 6K level. And then when I ran the Fantasy National lineup generator again, I unstarred all of the periphery pieces. So like no Justin Rose in those lineups, no Harris English in those lineups, none of the 6K guys in those lineups. Like I used Matt Jones in the stars and scrubs type build for like extra guys to have. And I think my player pool was 19 players for the 22 lineups. But then I generated another 6 with just like the solid guys that I wanted to use. So no players less than 7,000. And Wyndham Clarke was really the only guy down there. So that's the way that I kind of balanced it out. Any love for Keegan Bradley, Pat? I mean, he's Paul's. Every day that I have walked in here, Paul has told me to bet Keegan Bradley.
Here's the thing about Keegan Bradley. There's 123 people in the field. He's 121st in putting. We know how this can go bad. But it is my argument that you're a coward if you don't play him. Because it doesn't seem like anyone wants to play him. And all of the other numbers are just begging you to play him. And he has pretty good course history here, too.
He does. He makes the cut at this event every year.
Yeah.
I mean, first round leader would be the only sort of interest that I would have in him. Because the biggest
I
difference...
think I have him in 2 of 3 lineups.
Like his ball striking is off the charts right now. Like he's first tee to green and first ball striking over the last 50 rounds overall. I know on the stat sheet here, that's the past 24 rounds.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing, I think, and maybe because Keegan can run hot like once every 2 years with the putter and gain like 8 strokes. That's how we won that FedEx Cup event like a few years back. He gained 9 strokes putting at the, was it the BMW Championship? Deutsche Bank? One of those ones. Anyway. He has no short game. It's not just the putting that's a problem. It's that he also sucks around the green. So someone like Luke List, for example, and Luke List doesn't strike it as well as, like ball striking wise, as well as Keegan Bradley, but he's not too far behind. That Luke List actually has touch around the greens. Like he's pretty good from the bunker. Like his around the green metrics are very good. Keegan is not good whatsoever. So not only do you couple the fact that he's a shitty putter, is that he also can't get the ball up and down to like 2 feet to ensure that he makes those putts for par. That's where things go sideways for him so often, is that he doesn't just make bogey, because even if he gets it up and down to 10 feet, he might 3-putt from there. And that's never a great thing. At least with List, like, you know, even if he 2-putts, it's usually from like 5 feet. He's not going to 3-putt from that range. So that's the one reason to, I think, showdown, first round leader, you're looking good with Keegan Bradley. I just don't have the stomach for him to be first round leader, then miss the cut and really go full Keegan, because we've seen it. It's happened.
I'm prepared to lose all of my money this week.
Listen, if you're not prepared to lose all your money,
It's
either on
GPPs,
betting or
yeah.
DraftKings, then you're not doing it right.
Exactly. It's like anytime I try to play too safe, like playing like Kevin Kisner at a course like this, I mean, it just feels, or like Kevin Na or that type of thing. It's just like, it's just too safe. Whenever I play like balls to the wall, you know, sometimes it doesn't work out, but when it does, you're going to get a guy in the top 10 at that price that, you know, that nobody owns.
Matt Jones has had some very good recent success. That is absolutely true. But his stats don't necessarily line up with the course. What do you think of him here and why? I used a small bit of Matt Jones. The one thing that really does stick out to me, I mean, he's putting really well right now. And that's been a pretty consistent thing. The only tournament where he's lost strokes putting was at the Waste Management. He lost 0.4. Other than that, 6.5, 2, 2.1, 2.3, 6.4, 2.2, going back to last season. And it's, I mean, the last time he missed a cut was at Sanderson Farms. He's made every cut since, and generally speaking, he's going to be a very good driver of the ball. And his irons at Genesis were not great. He still finished inside the top 10 because of the great putting week that he had. And a lot of that was a disaster on the weekend. And the fact that he still finished positive off the tee despite what happened to him on Sunday is frankly quite shocking, considering how many strokes he lost just on that one drive. I think it was on number 12, the one where Burns got lucky and didn't go OB. But before that, he had rattled off 5 consecutive events with good irons. He's not going to ball strike. Like, the reason I like Cameron Percy is that he's a fantastic ball striker for $6,500. He's basically what you get out of Keegan Bradley with less of the downside that comes with Keegan Bradley. Now, he might not have the pinnacle upside of, like, Keegan could win this event. Like, his ball striking is that good. I'm not looking for Percy to win. I'm looking for Percy to come like 14th or something like that. But Jones is putting off the charts good at the moment. The iron play pretty consistent. We know that he is a good putter. Like, he finished 3rd at this event in 2015. 14th in 2014, 47th last year. That was in the win, missed the cut in 2016. So it was nice to see him come back last year in those horrible conditions, make the cut, strive through. I think one of his rounds was like completely terrible, and they actually played. I'm going to go research. Just effort this for me for 1 second here. Where's Matt Jones? I feel like one. Yes, Matt Jones was in it last year on Sunday and shot 81 on Sunday when, that wasn't the worst. Was it the worst score of the day? No, it was not. Rob Oppenheim shot 83. Wyndham Clarke went 82-80 on the weekend. Like, the win picks up, Wyndham Clarke probably not going to be so great. But Oppenheim, Wyndham Clarke, Davis Love, and Matt Jones and Stuart Sink all shot in the 80s. And there was a few other 79s out there making, like, was it Matthew Fitzpatrick shot 69 on Sunday? It was just like such a huge outlier round. Like, Damon shot 71. So those guys in that final round, if you just shot anywhere close to par, you massively moved up the leaderboard. So when we look at it, Matt Jones and he finished 47th. That's with an 81 on, so he finished 9 over. That was 9 over. So he started the day at even par. So he was inside the top 10 to start the day and got himself out of it. Now, normally Matt Jones is actually a pretty good wind player, so things just kind of went off the rails for him. But I think if the conditions aren't as outrageous as they were last year, and it doesn't seem like they're going to be, even with that weekend win coming in, then I got no problems with him. So hit me up with some Matt Jones, $7,400. Hey, Pat, how's the family? They're well. Hope they're well. They are well. Thank you, Andrew. Would you take Hovland Leishman or Sungjae Casey this week? Also, with the Sam Burns hype, what do you think of Max Homa as a pivot? I already did the Max Homa answer versus Sam Burns. I like the Hovland Leishman side of that. Kazire thoughts? Pass. I finished 21st, 62nd, and 84th in your tournament last week. I should finish first this week. Trending up. Good recent form, Devin. Good luck. If I'm not winning, I hope it's you. Actually, I don't. I hope it's like Paul, but, you're like third on the list or something like that. Better DK play, Tringali Man or Particle Man, a.k.a. Ricky Fowler. Tringali. Any Killa Keith in your player pool? Yep, to quote Dave Hester. Anyone likes Mav McNeely long shot? I do not. Hey, Pat, new to Fantasy National. How many stats do you usually use in your custom stat model? Sean T. It depends on the week, depends on the course, and stuff changes throughout the week. But every Sunday, I do a show where I walk you through how I weight everything that's on Mayo Media Network. I would actually advise that you just go back. You can use the time codes to go jump to the part where I actually create the model, and you can just see the visualization of it up there. If you're actually concerned and want to know more about that, it's on the feed right now. Just go back to Sunday's show and boom, click on it, click the time code. You can see how I'm using the strollers. I've changed it up a little bit. I took out driving distance and I put in off the tee instead. Are you good at golf, Pat? Not anymore. Don't play. I played one round in the past 3 years, so not so great anymore. As a teen, I was quite good. And in my early 20s, I was quite good. Is Spieth more viable to play since most of the tee shots in the water are on the left and he tends to miss off the right more? I actually think his driving's getting better, and the stats actually bear that out the past 2 weeks. So if he can just keep himself out of the water, and he probably won't do it all week, you give him 2 water balls throughout the course of the week. I'll take that because the rest of the game is going good right now. Why do you have a low-owned picks on DK? Who do you have as a low-owned picks on DK? I already went over my picks. You can check out my cheat sheet. You got questions for yourself? You ask me those questions, like this one. Joining late. Thoughts on Leishman? He's fine. I'm not using him. Who are your first-round leaders that you would go with this week? I give those out at the beginning of the show. You can just rewind. Did you fade all the top guys in any of your lineups? I have no Bryson, no Rory, and no Hovland this week. One and done. Fitz or Hovland? Fitz. Matt Jones outright to win. A crazy bet. I don't think that he's going to win, so I'll say yes. But I bet on people who lose every week, so I'm not going to stop you. Smash the like button. Kevin is right. You should be smashing the like button, so please do that now. Also, subscribe to Mayo Media Network. If you're watching at the moment, throw me the sub. All right, thanks. For one and done, would you lean towards the top, Bryson, Reed, and Im, or more course history, Day, Molinari, etc.? I think I've used Day in this tournament the past 2 years as my one and done, and he's withdrawn both those years, so that's always a fun time. Few people are going to use Day. Molinari is playing better than Day at the moment. So Molinari's probably the better play. I would lean towards Reed or Bryson out of those two. Bryson is going to be the lowest owned of the top end guys in the one and done, so I think that's a route you can go to. Paul, yes, you have a comment.
If Disney World is closed, though, Jason Day won't be withdrawing.
Paul, this is in Florida. You think Disney World's closed?
Is it open?
Yeah, someone sent me a DM the other day that they were at Disney World and saw Cam Smith there.
I thought it was still closed.
Come on. Florida, Paul. Florida.
Yeah.
We live in Canada where everything is closed at all times for the rest of eternity. Not in Freedom America. That's not
true.
how it works.
That's a good point.
But maybe where he's an international, maybe he doesn't want to go out in public like that. I don't even know if they still have the bubble. Remember when they were doing like the traveling bubble on the PGA Tour when COVID first ended?
Yeah.
Anyway, picking one to make the cut, Hatton or Fitzy, who's the safest? Weirdly, it's probably Hatton. Hatton's a better player. Any ideas other than Sung Kang at $6,400 and below? The only one I'm playing is Straka. Grundy, Lowry, Gooch, Connors, pick two. Well, I don't think oh, that's the guy's last name. Sorry. I was like, I don't know who the fuck Grundy is. Lowry, Gooch, Connors, pick two. Let's go with the Gooch and Connors. What do you drink while you watch all your good lineups have one guy miss the cut on Fridays? I'm not drinking at the moment. I don't drink a ton to begin with, but probably wine if I had to. I just don't drink that early in the day. If I'm going to drink it, I'm not a big day drinker. It makes me very tired, and then it screws up my sleep schedule. So it needs to at least be dark out if I'm going to drink, and that includes like 4 o'clock in the morning. So I get a head start on the day, getting some booze into me. But I've just been drinking a ton of wine, and frankly, in March, I don't necessarily think I'm going to do a dry March, but I don't know. I haven't been drinking at all lately. It's not fun. It's not fun when you can't go out and have some beers with friends, put it that way. And you're just sitting at home, me and my wife are looking at each other like, we really going to finish this bottle? And the answer is always yes. So we're trying to get away from that. When is your next EDM track dropping? DJ Pat Mayo. Wiki is coming at you live Friday nights, 1 a.m. Get some MDMA in you to keep you up and vibe with DJ Pat Mayo. People don't know what I'm talking about, check out my Twitter feed. Or my Instagram feed at the PME. Any Kazire love this week? Who's this, fucking Patton Kazire's brother? No. Thoughts on starting with Im and Fitz? Don't hate it. On or Connors? Connors. Hey, Pat, any interest on Leishman? Worst finish here last 3 years is T23. Yeah, I don't follow golf. No. I mean, he's fine. I'm not betting him or playing him this week, but just not for me this week. And I think I've bet him each of the past 4 weeks. So watch him win now. Question: why do you like Cam Percy? I think I already answered that. If conditions are easy, would you say that Fitzpatrick has less of a chance to win? I don't, actually. I think that he's fine for this course. He plays well at, almost like Patrick Reed, all the courses that you would expect someone like Matthew Fitzpatrick to play really well at, like parkland, tree-lined fairways, short courses, that kind of thing. He doesn't tend to play well at those courses. He tends to play well at like the Torrey Pines, the Bay Hills, Augustas. He played well at Riviera. He played well at Muirfield Village. He hits his long irons really, really well. And that's not the impression that we have of him in our mind. And even when you go look at some of his wins, like when he wins over in the Middle East, like those aren't short courses. So I think his long irons are good enough to sustain themselves and give him a shot to win. Like he was T9 here 2 years ago when it played super easy. And then he was T2 here last year when it played easy for 2 days and then played really hard. So I think that he's sort of the best of both worlds. Him, Reed, and Hatton, I really think that you get... And Spieth, weirdly enough, that if the conditions start to suck, that kind of mitigates how bad he is off the tee, because everyone's going to start being bad off the tee. And then it's all down to like long irons, chipping, and putting, which he might be the best player in the field at. So that's sort of the love. If it gets bad, why certain guys can play better than others. But if it doesn't get bad, then they probably have less of a chance, but not a zero chance. Sabatini, top 20 play? I didn't even look at Sabatini. I really should, because it feels... I actually have no idea how well or not he's been playing. It's just for whatever reason, I notice when he's top 20, because I always think about him at any course that plays hard, because he does play well at really hard courses. Let's see. Miscut, 10th, 12th, miscut, 40th, 12th. Like, if he doesn't miss the cut, he tends to come inside the top 20, so it's either an MC or a top 20, so I don't hate that. Who has Tim Curse this week we need to avoid at all costs? Tim's one and done pick this week is, if you would watch the show, you would know it's Rory McIlroy. Frank says, love Canadians, by the way. You have a good attitude, like us from New Jersey, baby. I mean, I've lived in 2 places in America, and one was New Jersey. I loved living in New Jersey. It was great. The tri-state region just reminds me of a saltier version of Canada, which basically means it's like Toronto, where everyone's real salty all the time, unlike what you get with the rest of Canada, so I fit right in there. It was great. Doc Redman has been horrid, but the ball striking that fits Bayfield. Can he bounce back? Of course he can bounce back. I am just not betting on him to bounce back. I want to see it first. I'll miss the boat on Doc Redman. Hatton or Hovland? Hatton. Any interest in Adam Long? I did. It's just, after he screwed me so badly at the American Express, I have not forgiven him as of yet. And he made the cut, too. Just a real bad weekend. Is Cust playing a character, or is it all genuine? Paul, do you want to answer that one?
At the end of every single show that we do every single week, and we've been doing them for years now. I mean, I've been doing it, we're approaching 4 years.
Yeah.
And at the end of every, like when we close a Zoom meeting, he always goes, leave meeting, as he clicks the button to leave the meeting. And it's like, this is after recording is done, after we've said goodbye to him. No, he's an old man trapped in like a 33-year-old's body. It's real.
And he's not even 30. Is he 33 yet, or is he 32?
Every episode, forever. Every single one. Never misses.
Just joined. Who's your one and done this week and why? Well, you can just fucking rewind back to the beginning, pal. Get it together, Dane. It's not how this works. You got a question about one guy for your one and done? That I can answer. If it's something I've already answered, you can rewind, or you can just watch the one and done show, the quick hits that I did up on Mayo Media Network, and daily fantasy sports picks and bets, the mix. You can sub to that in the description of this video and podcast right now, and you can get an early look at the Players' Championship betting odds, plus the one and done breakdown for the Arnold Palmer Invitational up there right now. Really struggling on whether or not to play Molinari. Thoughts? Did I play Molinari? Now I can't remember if I did or not. I think I did. Not in my main lineups, but yeah, I did use Molinari. 14% Molinari across my 22 lineups. That would be 3 Molinari lineups. Like him, don't love him. Sungjae and Stanley or Fitz and Adam Long. There I'd actually go Fitz and Adam Long. Pat, love the content and Fantasy National Golf Club. Why does the simulator always seem to love Munoz? Because Munoz is good. That's why. I mean, it worked. He hit his 80-1 number when it ranked him, I think, number 2 in the simulator that week. And, I mean, he almost got me that Masters. But I don't know the specific reason why the simulator... I'm not the simulator. I don't know what it thinks. But he plays a lot better than where he is constantly priced in terms of the betting market, and in terms of his DraftKings price. He has some bad weeks for sure because he's not a great player, but even his world ranking, it's good. He's a good player. Take both Reed and Hatton, screw the live bullet you're saving? Nah, I'm not going to do that. What's the best golf bet you ever hit? I think people out there know what that answer is. It was almost going to be Nate Lashley 3 weeks ago, by the way, which would have been amazing. But Willett's number 1, Martin Keimer at the Players in 2015 is number 2. Who is the better heel, Ravishing Rick Rude or the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase? Anyone who can go into the ring looking as sexy as Ravishing Rick Rude and tell people to cut the music and call all the ladies out there a bunch of sweat hogs for just getting the, what are they called? Not the Vipers, the Vapors looking at Ravishing Recruit is the man. That just having the, I mean, for someone like the late 80s who's as cut as him versus all like the other wrestlers at the time, highly impressive for him. I don't know where these guys, they're wrestling every day. I guess, where do they get time when you get sore lifting all that much, being in that good of shape? I don't know. Super cut. And then having a picture of yourself on your trunks. High class move. I mean, if I could just wear a sweatshirt with my face on it all the time, I probably would. But I don't have the confidence of one Ravishing Rick Rude. What percentage of your weekly betting bankroll do you usually use on live versus wins versus top 10s, 20s, and 40s? Oh, I don't fucking know. You really think I have a game plan for this? I don't. If I see odds I like, I bet them. If I see odds I don't like, I don't bet them. It really depends on the week. Most of my money is tied up in the outright win market because golf betting is fun for me. It's entertainment for me. And when I win, I like to win a lot of money when I win. Basically, my top 10s and 20 bets are money back bets. If one top 20 hits, then I break even for the week. This is essentially how it works. Hey, Pat, love all of your work. I love you, Robert. Thank you for saying that. What are your thoughts on Adam Long? Everyone loves Adam Long here. I kind of went over that. I don't love him. FN model keeps popping out. Will Gordon. Any love, Mayo? He was a last cut from my 6K range. Stricker at 6,400 to make the cut. Decent course history. The man's like 94 years old. But he finished top 5 at Waste Management. I don't know. Those types of plays aren't for me. 5 guys above 10K, smaller field. Do you play 2, fade 3? How do you approach it? That is exactly how I'm playing it. I'm playing 2, and I'm fading 3. Snake draft. How would you rank Spieth, Casey, Molinari, and Day? Spieth, Molinari, Casey, Day. What electronic song do you walk out to? Like in wrestling, or do you mean that you work out to? Because I think the main song, I can pull up my running playlist right now, which also doubles as my hit playlist, or if I'm just max lifting. But it is Devil's Den by Skrillex. It's a 5-minute song that is very high in density with one little dip to have you be like, doo, 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 doo. Then it builds back up. It's like, bah, 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 and get you fucking fired up, and you're ready to go. Gim or Zach Johnson? Gim Reaper. Thoughts on Gooch for DK? Potentially as a one-and-done semi-punt. Wouldn't do the one-and-done, but I have used him on DK, so I'll go for it. HV3 to sneak in the top 10. Hope not, didn't play him. Do you feel that a primary cash build will be 2 10K guys and 1 6K guy? I mean, I don't play cash games, or do I care about cash games? Cowardly cash games. But yes, I think that's probably the way it's going to go this week. Any Killa Keith exposure? Yes, I do. Let's see. Big Keith Mitchell. Keith Mitchell, 3 of 22 lineups for me, 14%. HV3, a good DFS play this week? Hope not. Can Bradley drive? Yes, Keegan Bradley can drive the ball. Tickle! Hee. The like button, folks. I'm with Mr. Grundy. You should do that. Anyone talking about Rose at $7,800 on DK this week? Thanks for not reading Pat Mayo's work. Brett Skinner. Fuck you. Pat Mayo is. How about that? If I tap the like button, can I get the 2 best win players in the field? Smash it if you can give me 3. I kind of did my little win rant earlier, but just for the basis, on Fantasy National, we have a Windy AF filter. And what Windy AF is, and you can always look this stuff in the glossary. People don't do that. They just ask me instead of just clicking a button where you could immediately. It's like when people ask me what an each way bet is, like randomly during things, when you can just Google that and it will tell you. This is another thing Tim does. He doesn't use Google to find answers to things, like very simple things where if you just even ask Siri. Siri's his best friend, but he won't pester Siri with questions. He just likes having chats with Siri back and forth. But over 17 miles per hour is Windy AF on Fantasy National, if you were wondering on that. So let's click that on. And the thing is, we only have 89 weighted rounds of that. So let's just look at the past 12 rounds in Windy AF and see who the best players are. Strokes gained total, your top 3 are Spieth, Harris English, and Rory Sabatini in 12 rounds. So I'm curious. Let's just check out what those rounds actually are. For Jordan Spieth, those 12 rounds come from, that dates back to 2018 too, round 1 at Memorial last year, round 4 at Pebble Beach, round 4 at the BMW Championship, rounds 4, 3, 2, and 1 at the 2019 Open Championship, rounds 1 and 2 at the Charles Schwab in 2019, round 4 at the PGA Championship in 2019, rounds 2 and 3 at the Heritage in 2019, round 4 at the Heritage or at the Genesis in 2019, and rounds 2, 3, and 4 at the Tournament of Champions in 2018. Those are the 12 rounds that it's pulling from of his last 12 with rounds over 17 miles per hour. So a brief explanation of how that works. But he is number 1 in strokes gained total. He is 8th strokes gained tee to green over that time. Harris English is number 2. He is 4th in strokes gained tee to green over that time. And Sabatini is 2nd tee to green, 3rd in strokes gained total over his past 12 rounds. Number 1, oh my God. Paul, you want to hear something funny?
Hit me.
Do you know who the number 1 player with wins over 17 miles per hour in their last 12 rounds is tee to green?
I do not.
You want to guess?
Number 1 player, tee to green, wins over.
But he is 26th in strokes gained total. So he does something not well. Keegan Bradley.
I'm telling you, man. This is the week.
What are his odds to win?
100 to 1. I just like him as a DraftKings play. Because he's 7K flat.
Interesting. Cam Davis, very good tee to green also. And Party Marty Laird over those past 12 rounds. Leishman, Spieth, Griot, Matsuyama is up there. All guys that have played well at this course in the past. Seb Straka, very sneakily, along with Alex Noren up there too. Two guys that I have used in DraftKings Live. I haven't really mentioned Noren all that much, but I did play him on DraftKings. I like him this week. So yeah, Bob, you can smash the like button now. Question for Paul. I literally cannot wait for this week's UFC. How pumped are you?
It's lit.
It's lit?
It's
So
amazing.
you are excited.
This is a great. I mean, three titles on the line. Like,
Do you know
it doesn't get much better. Like, this is the card of the year until something else gets booked. But by a long shot, this is the card of the year. Everyone should be excited about it.
Do you think that...
Hopefully, there aren't too many like COVID cancellations. We are in Vegas, so that you gotta be ready for that.
Do you think that Cody's recent cold streak coincides with my recent hot streak in golf, where usually I just have bad golf picks and lose, and Cody wins all the UFC bets? Do you think it is impossible for the two of us to be making good picks at the same time?
It seems that way. I mean, he was actually not too bad. He just, for whatever reason, he got way too invested in Alexander Hernandez, who can't fight 3 rounds and is a bit of a gasser. So I didn't really understand why he got on that, but like all of his other picks were pretty decent. I had a profitable week last week because I just avoided Hernandez.
I mean, you want to talk about a guy who gasses out early? I'm having chili tonight, Paul.
Fair.
So yeah, the Dogger Pass podcast UFC bets for the giant UFC card is going to be released tonight. Video is going to be on Mayo Media Network, so please subscribe and go check out that show. Show some support for Paul and Cody, okay? And you can download the Dogger Pass podcast wherever you can download podcasts. Leave a rating and review, just like you do for the Pat Mayo Experience, just like you do for Daily Fantasy Sports Picks and Bets the Mix, the Cuss Corner solo feed. We have a lot of shows at Mayo Media Network now. We're trying to pump out content that can reach everyone, but it takes the support of everyone, even if you don't give a shit about that content, to at least click it, like it, download it, that kind of thing. You don't have to listen to it. We don't really care that much about it. We would prefer you do it, but if you can just show some support with the ratings and reviews, they take like 30 seconds, and that shit helps us out way more than you can know. Any love for Snedeker? Nah. Cam Davis or the Triangle Man, Cameron Tringali. I like Cam Davis. Any love for nah? That was actually the first question of the chat, so you can rewind. What are your thoughts on life, Patrick? I think that's a Wiley burner. You ban him. Thoughts on utilizing Londo and Sepp in lineups this week? I said Londo. Lonto. I like Lonto a lot, actually. I like Lonto and Sepp. I'm in. Michael R., I'm in with you. Why is Casey not getting a lot of love? He's getting a ton of love. Do you think someone below him like Fleetwood, Molly, Usti, or Zalatoris have better win equity? I don't. I think that out of all of those guys, that probably Casey is the best play. Thoughts on first-round leader? Besides the first-round leaders that I listed in order of descending odds earlier? No, I have no other comments on those. We got a lot of questions this week. This is great. Paul, you have convinced me if I win my one lineup with Keegan that I should send you a cut.
Let's go, Stewie.
Stewie's always looking out for everyone.
Yes,
Stewie's
sir.
like the best fan anyone could have to everyone.
100%.
Shout out, Stewie. You're our guy. Howdy. Any love for Hideki this week? Nope. Do you like Bryson as top American plus 650? The board is all European, and he basically is fighting with Reed, Spieth, and Will Z, and Matt Every, don't forget, 2-time champion of this event. No, I don't. Patrick, a point about your earlier comment, a pool where you can take any 5 golfers no matter the odds. You still have to find a way to differentiate. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. Play in a real league, pal. Griot, Connors, and List. Play DraftKings. How about that? Pick 2. Griot, Connors, and List. Connors and List. Just checking in to see what you think about Zalatoris, Burns, and Cam Davis. Burns, Cam Davis, Zalatoris. If you like them, I definitely want to fade them. And if you're fading them, I definitely want to play them. Thanks, Paul. Who is this guy?
No idea. You're a dick. I don't know anything.
At least that's a funny one. I'm here for the funny
That is
ones.
pretty funny. I appreciate. You're welcome.
Yeah, he saves himself by being nice to you.
At Pat's expense, you're welcome, Lakers Taylor.
Jay Smooth, Bryson and Reed, or Hovland and Im? Bryson and Reed. How about old friend Luke List? Like I said, I like Luke List the next 2 weeks, not so much this week. Any prop bits available for Bryson driving number 6? You're going to have me on the show when I take down the 800K flop shot? No. I don't do those sorts of things where I just have random people on. I like to have good people on. How about that? Pat, you're the man. Who is the best long shot? Like long shot? Straka, 200 to 1. Why does DraftKings always have better odds than beep? Because they're a good company, not a shitty company. That's why. Thoughts on Kokrak? Using Kokrak, not betting him though. It's Bo Hogs week. Well, you better have a lot of money, pal. Awesome hoodie. Smash the like, and the folks, Disney World is open. See, I thought so. Kokrak, a good pick this week. That guy asked that question twice. If you ask the same question twice, you're banned for life. But it might be two different people asking it. It was two different people asking it. Never mind. Top Canadian, Hadwin versus Connors. Roger Sloan not playing? Connors. Did you speak about Will Z yet? Yeah, Will Z's fine. Hovland for Masters or Players, not this one. That's not a question, and you might be banned for life. Check back next week to see if you're banned for life. Will Gordon top 20? Question mark? Pass. Is Honda a good comp course? Not really. I mean, it's Florida. That helps, but... And if it plays difficult, I would say maybe, but this is just such a longer course than PGA National is. Is Will Zalatoris too expensive? No, I don't think so. I think he's pretty accurately priced. Maybe even underpriced in this field, actually. Fleetwood will win this week. Okay. How deep do you go into the one and done season before making weird picks to try to catch up? I at least like to get through the Players, the next WGC, and the Masters, those three huge prize pools, and then see where I'm sitting, because there's plenty of time to come back. Do you hand build your lineups or use the generator? I smash the like. Love tuning in every single week. Molinari versus Burns this week. I'll take Mr. Snub because I like the way he thinks. Sam Burns. Is it a good strategy to play Yahos one and done in weeks like this week and last week instead of trying to guess when they will play later in the season? I guess it depends. I mean, you might not even end up using some of the Euros. Like, who are we talking about here? Like Hatton and Fitzpatrick and Fleetwood, like those guys are going to play in all the majors. They're going to play in other tournaments as well, all the WGCs. So, I mean, if you want to burn Hatton, I'm for it. If you want to burn Fitzpatrick, I'm for it. I think they're some of the favorites to win these tournaments. But you can pretty much map out people's schedules. Would I be better off betting on Tony Finau or consuming a cuss dog? What was his... Did you see this?
I think it was like A1 steak sauce,
cheese whiz,
caramelized onions. It sound like that wouldn't be my go-to, but it doesn't sound like most of the things Tim likes are absolutely egregious. This doesn't sound that bad.
As someone pointed out, that is something that you would get on your hot dog at like 3 a.m. drunk out of your mind coming home from a bar.
You probably shake some bacon bits on it as well.
I mean, I would go bacon bits over the onions, but.
Yeah.
That's me.
I mean,
I like onions on my hot dog. The only thing is, like, that is a drunk decision people make, and that is Tim's preferred way to eat a hot dog.
Yeah, like
which is telling you something.
I'm all about just like keeping it simple. Really, it's just like mustard is a must, and that's.
See, I don't like mustard, so I'm out on that.
Okay.
I would put sriracha or any sort of hot sauce, bacon bits, hot peppers, and onions.
Sounds legit.
I think that's pretty easy. Any love for Malnati? Nah. Any love for Sneds? Nah. Have you gone over the weather yet? Yes. Yes, I have. At the beginning of the show. Every single week on the live chat, I do the bets, I do the weather, I do the DK ownership, then we get into the chat. Tim is afraid of Google. Would he rather use an encyclopedia? Of course he would. Of course he would. Johnny, or the Gim Reaper? I think for safety, is the answer, but for upside purposes, the answer is the Gim Reaper. We're getting to the bottom here. Is it smart to fade Bryson, Rory, and Hovland? I hope so, because I did, and start with Reed and Hatton. Is it great leverage to have? If it works out, it's great. Anything that works out is great leverage, but in this circumstance, where Rory and... you can work... Like, if you're going to work one of them in, if you're just thinking strictly about leverage purposes, Bryson is a really good play because he and Reed will be the lowest owned of the 10K guys. Thoughts on Pultz? Pass. Thoughts on Ricky? Pass. So much good content from Mayo Media, not enough time. Well, if you tell some friends, maybe they can consume time on it too. Wyndham Clarke seems like a good DK play. I agree. Hammering Hideki if you're off of him. Okay, this guy's kind of a jerk. I'm going to ban him for life.
Which guy?
This guy. He's now banned for life. We never have to reference him.
Lost track.
Just kind of an asshole. Don't like you. Never come back to my chat and go fuck yourself. Kyle Stanley or Cam Lamborghini Percy? I like Cam Percy better.
Oh, Doug Gilmore.
Where can I get this hoodie? I don't know. DraftKings sent them to us. Maybe the DraftKings store? I don't know. I've used Kisner, Hadwin, Day, Sungjae, Berger, Bryson, Finau in a survivor pool, currently 21st out of 70th. Suggestions on who to take this week. I have no idea what a survivor pool is. Is that just to make the cut? And if so, why are you using guys like fucking Hadwin? I don't understand what this pool is. Please elaborate better. Best golfer, you, Jeff, or Cuss? Jeff is spelled wrong. I played with Jeff. Jeff beat me the one time that we played together. Well, actually, no. We played together twice. We played at the DFS Open almost like a year ago now. Shout out Drew. Shout out Greg, our partners who ended up playing with us. Jeff was like on his phone the entire time, like trying to find weed in Florida. While the rest of us played golf. Jeff was like stressed out about it. It was pretty funny. But probably Jeff. Jeff just plays a lot. Cuss fucking bombs it off the tee. I do not. But like Cuss is a big dude. And it's not like Cuss is like 5'8" and rotund. He's like 6'2", 6'3", and he uses his weight and his leverage behind it. But I usually beat Cuss when we play because Cuss is like the Tony Finau of our games together. Cuss could be up 6 with 2 holes to go, and he's going to lose. The pressure gets to him. He starts missing 1-foot putts. It's pretty funny. And you can just see it on his face that he's exacerbated. Like, he can't handle the pressure that comes along with it. Because I'm usually fairly consistent, and I putt really well most of the time and chip really well. Kind of saves me in that regard. But driving-wise, Cuss is by far the best. Jeff probably has the best all-around game. Denny? Question mark? Nah. Play or fade Kazire? Fade. Jason Day have any chance? Jason Day always has a chance, but his win equity is the same as his withdraw equity. Keegan SG was mostly due to the Sanderson Farms, where he gained 6.95 gain total. Okay. Nah or Rookie? Neither? Thoughts on Noren? Like him. Any interest in Willis? No. Do you know how deep the rough will be at Bay Hill this weekend? I don't, but generally speaking, Bay Hill has some of the longest rough on tour. What do you think the odds are that Bryson smashes one over the 6? Isn't the 6 like a 600-yard par 5? Am I misremembering that? I wonder what I haven't seen it. If there's chatter about him like actually trying to go for it, if this is just a stupid fucking question, taking up my time. If I find out this is a stupid fucking question, you're getting banned for life, by the way. But if it's not, I don't want to just cast aspersions here, and maybe you're on to something. Par 5, 560 yards. I wonder what the distance between the tee, because I think it's the one with like the huge water, like the Pac-Man hole. I wonder if he can actually go for it if the wind's at his back. I don't know what the distance is actually between, if it's like 380, it'd be something, one of those long drive contests. Betting and DK aside, which player would you like to see win this week? I don't give a shit. Honestly. Reed. How about that? Tringali or Cam Davis? Cam Davis. Happy birthday, Mayo. Are you going to donate to again in the $200 this week? I probably will, but you're banned for life because it's not my birthday. I don't know who these trolls are. I bet you they're coming from one certain place, if I had to guess. But the fun thing is, the reason I can afford to lose the money in the $200 every week, because the monetization I do for that show is more than $200. So it's just better content for me. So I'm actually still coming out ahead.
I wish, if you're going to be a troll, use your real name. Don't be a coward.
Oh, yeah. I mean, trolls are cowardly to begin with.
Yeah. Especially when you're not revealing your actual name. Nobody knows who you are. You don't have a photo, like a photo of yourself, or people don't know what you look like. Cowardly.
Oh, for sure. And listen, if you want to come on and troll Pat, you got things to say to me, you can come on the show. That's fine. But you need to have your real name and video along with it. Open forum for you if you want to come on and talk shit to me. How about that? It's 380 from tee to green. Number 6 is 340 from tee to green. Well, which one is it, people? Now I know. Long drive champion hit the green in 2017. So if it's 340 carry on 6, he might go for it. If it's 380, I don't think he's going to be doing that. And long drive, I mean, did he use like a real club, or did he use like one of those long driving drivers, which real players don't use? That'd be fun. I am a high school teacher. Last time you gave me an amazing, in-depth answer to a question I had. With your knowledge, analytical skills, and engaging personality, you should teach a game theory class. Yeah, but the problem is I don't understand the theory well enough. That's the issue. I actually did a seminar virtually as a guest lecturer at NYU last year, speaking about a lot of this stuff about sports analytics and the predictability and stats across sports and how that translates to the gambling market. I actually had a lot of fun with that. If any university is out there and needs a guest lecture, I can do that for you virtually too. I have a decent setup. Can't use the same golfer. Survivor pool can't use the same golfer twice. Whoever has the most earnings at the end of the season wins. You get the same earnings as the golfer. So it's a one and done league. So you shouldn't be using like absolute jabronis. Use good players. What are you doing? Why are you using Adam Hadwin? What the fuck's wrong with you? Use Hatton or Fitz or Bryson or Reed or Rory or Hovland. One of those guys. First round leader picks beginning of the show. At this point, how much do you think your show is affecting DK ownership? A lot less than other people think about it. Put it that way. Listening to Pat's voice is just so attractive when you just listen to Jeff's awkward segment on Odds Checker. Shout out to Jeff's show. Jeff's getting a lot better at those. It is a huge skill. Honestly, and takes an incredible amount of time to do shows by yourself. And usually it's Jeff and I going back and forth. You get to play off someone. You're not carrying it the entire time. Once you can get over, and I still haven't done it. I've been doing this for over 10 years now. But it's a skill set in and of itself. You can't be afraid of silence when it comes down to it. And that's honestly the biggest problem that a lot of people have when hosting shows by themselves. They are so conscious about dead air. When you're doing that and that pause that I just took, in my mind, that feels like 3 minutes. It's not. It's a realistic human pause. If you're taking human lessons, they would teach you to take a pause when you actually stop talking from time to time. So once you become comfortable with that and stop doing the ums and the ahs too much, that's going to happen over time. You in a process. I've been speaking for an hour and 15 minutes now by myself with a little bit of playoff, Paul. Obviously, having the questions really helps too instead of just doing a basic rant. I've always respected the hell out of someone like Colin Cowherd or Jim Rome, just being able to carry these things, having the experience of having done that and not being very good at it and trying to become better at this skill over time. It's incredibly difficult. So don't shit on people who are trying to do it by themselves. You go try it. And you know what? How about this? You want to shit on people about this stuff? See, I'm doing the over time. How about you send me 15 straight minutes of you talking into a camera about anything, and I will air it. But you got to use your real name and your real face. And give us a contact of where people can actually like tweet at you about it too. And they can rate and review how good you are. Okay? Thanks. Kirk or List? Kirk. Do you think course experience matters here? Discussion yesterday with Ben about Spieth's lack of experience probably being a benefit. As far as I can see, Cam Davis hasn't played Bay Hill either. I think it's probably always better to have experience at a course over not having experience at a course, but in the long term, I don't really think it matters all that much. Custom driver was used. Do I have to play Danny Lee in one lineup? Glutton for punishment. Roz and I talked about that yesterday. He just randomly shows up. World Long Drive Champion Justin James. I'll post the link if you like. If you post a link in my chat, I will ban you for life. How about that? I don't give a shit about the World Long Drive Champion. Not sure if you've decided yet or not, Pat, but Reed over Hatton all day. When's the last time someone successfully defended a PGA title? Paul Casey at the Valspar. Cam Davis or nah? Nah. When you bet outright golfer, is there an overall odd you try to get to a week? Example, betting 4 golfers at 40-1, the overall odds would be 10-1. Yes. I usually try to make everything right around like 4, 5, 6, 7 times my money of what I've invested overall for the week is what my outrights will play. And like I said, the top 10s and the top 20s or potentially the each ways too on some of these longer shot guys will cover me for the week. And then everything just kind of hinges on the outright. So, I throw down when it comes down to this stuff too. But that's the way that I play it. That's probably not even smart to do, but that's the way that I like to play it. And I'm not losing my shirt, so it's fine. If I start losing my shirt, we might have to go a little bit differently. Pat, you make Wednesdays awesome. Thank you, Wyatt. Laugh my ass off. Keep up the great work and smash the like button, peoples. Would you rather bet Day or Spieth? I'd rather bet Spieth this week. Nah, or someone else in that range. Basically, everyone else in that range for me, looking at it right now. And that's nothing really against Kevin Na. I just like the others a little bit better. Let's see here. I like Burns better, English better, Leishman better, Kokrak better, Cam Davis better, Gooch better, Rose better, Griffin better, Tringali better, Charlie Hoffman better than Kevin Na this week. So I'm basically penciling Kevin Na for winning. Hey, that's the end of the question. Smash the like on the way out, sub to Mayo Media Network. And I think I've gotten, Davis Percy or Na and Straka, Davis and Percy, since I'm using both those guys. I think I've been sold, not by an overwhelming amount, but I will be betting Patrick Reed 21-1 to win the Arnold Palmer Invitational when I release my cheat sheet. Patrick Reed will be up there just above Matthew Fitzpatrick in terms of the betting odds, so you can almost guarantee that Tyrrell Hatton is going to repeat at this event this year. I really couldn't come up with a compelling case for or against one of them in terms of deciding. At least on DraftKings, I can play them both together. But in the betting where I already am down on Fitzpatrick at 25, I will take Patrick Reed. That will be the top of my card. So you can check out the cheat sheet up on my Facebook page or on Twitter later on today once I round everything like that out. Thank you all for tuning in. Once again, if I got to everyone's questions, obviously, but if you tuned in late or you still have questions that are festering in your mind for later on in the day, dump them in the comment section after the live is over. I will be answering them all around 8 p.m. Eastern Time this evening, Wednesday. So please share the show around, download the shows, do all that fun stuff too. Players Championship Odds. Show is already out. It's on Daily Fantasy Sports. Picks and Bets The Mix. You can download that and subscribe to the audio versions in the description of this video and podcast. Ditto for the one and done picks and preview for the week as well. Thank you all for watching. Good luck this week. I'll see you next time.